and you should be good to go.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the 2024 Smart Beginnings Virtual Conference. We're excited to share with you today the stakeholder-driven performance support. I'm Dr. Carol Johnson, and Dr. Kristen Vadova at the University of North Dakota will also be presenting with me. Today we're excited to talk about a process that we really used to develop our professional development system within North Dakota. And we wanted that professional development to meet the needs of practitioners, families, and community members. And so we hope to go over really embracing the materials that we collaboratively put together with a broad stakeholder group to sort of reflect on that process and recognize that throughout the process we use data and feedback to drive the process that we use and to have continuous improvement. The first thing that we would encourage you to really look at when you're developing a professional development program for your state is that each state is different. And so you need to really think about what is professional development and what does that mean to you and for your state. We really wanted to look at the strengths and barriers of professional development, and we wanted that framework that we had some asynchronous opportunities, and as well as developing leaders within local areas that could focus on bringing that material to them so that we had local buy-in. And we wanted to look at the different frameworks of bringing in intervention practices, authentic learning opportunities around that overall pause. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I feel like I don't know what's going on with me today.
Oh, do you want to redo the whole slide or do you want to?
I do.
Go for it, because I know you.
I know. I just feel like when I was thinking about it outside of this, I felt like I think I need to quit looking at notes and just talk about it, because I think my problem is the notes came up and I don't usually do that.
Don't look at them.
Okay. So were you okay with this one?
Yes.
Okay. So the first process really to look at when you're designing professional development is we looked at what does professional development mean to you? And we wanted to really be able to support those that are early in the field as onboarding. We wanted to be able to support those that have been in the field for a while, maybe 5 to 10 years, as well as have opportunities for those that have been long-term practitioners in the family, in the family of early intervention. In addition to that, we really wanted our professional development to be for families as equal partners and for stakeholders as equal partners, as well as those practitioners. And when we talk about practitioners in early intervention, we wanted to include service coordinators and those in early intervention, as well as community members.
And our development of our professional development history, I guess, really took off with OSEP, the Office of Special Education Programs, telling states in around 2012 that you need to have a state systemic improvement plan. And when our state really worked with stakeholders and valued that moment, and since then has really valued the SSIP, the State Systemic Improvement Plan, we put in a strand that was completely about professional development and our vision for where we needed to be in our state. And that was the beginning of what we're talking about here.
And within that framework, we really wanted to look at what has been the history of professional development. What are those evidence-based strategies? And right down here is what our goal was, is we wanted to get for practitioners to be able to model, to be able to practice coaching, to really go beyond theory. And if you look at, there's an impact on knowledge, there's an impact on skill, and impact on practice. We wanted to have all those components at the bottom so that we could capture most people by going through the professional development, that it wouldn't just be knowledge, but it would impact their skills and it would impact their coaching. And so that was really important to us. Also, you'll hear us talk about that we want this across families, community partners, and practitioners. We want that peer mentoring, but we wanted to really look at a group that people across the state could be involved in. So they had a piece that they could direct us on what was helpful, what wasn't helpful, and that we knew we would be meeting their needs. But as well as meeting their needs, that by being a part of this professional development work group, that it also would build their confidence and they would be able to take it back to the local entities that they work in.
So with the development of the SSIP, we created a professional development work group within our state, inviting all those partners to be a part of it and create professional development. But what really spurred us on even farther was in 2020 when we were able to receive the 325L grant from OSEP, which really helped us focus even more on how we could create engagement locally in programs around professional development and further support our state. And a part of that real grant on the next slide was also having the monies and the extra value of stakeholders around that grant to find a platform to put asynchronous professional development that was created by stakeholders, and to also have a new website, which we drastically needed at that time. Another part of this process on the next slide is that we completely valued implementation science and PDSA cycles that were first introduced to us in that 2012 timeframe with the State Systemic Improvement Plan. We really, with every part of our initiatives, and especially professional development, do the plan, do, study, act, but we do it with stakeholders, and we teach them to be the leaders in the PDSA cycle so that whatever we do, we review, we take feedback, and we improve. And that's been a great aspect of all of our work.
And in the beginning, we worked with the stakeholders and really looked at what are those main topic areas that you need? What kinds of support do you need? And this was our early list that really looking at knowing the basics of those missions and key principles, knowing what early intervention looks like, what it doesn't, really that overall auspice of family practice, family-centered practices, leading to that triadic of being able to really support the family rather than just the child, and then leading into functional outcomes and service coordination. Over time, we added to this list and really looked at other areas, but this was our starting point. And we went to stakeholders to figure this out and really look at what are the most things we need for onboarding? What are other additional pieces that people in the field need, the community members, and we also wanted to overlay that state systemic improvement plan in all the areas that we've identified so that it was a seamless system. We learned very early on that if we were going to do professional development, you need to have certificates of attendance. This was a huge motivator. Many of the people in the field need to have so many hours of continuing education, and this, even if they didn't need that continuing education, I would highly recommend that you build in some type of certificate for them when they are completed. This was a resounding across the board. Everybody wanted to see that. And there's different ways you can do that with having hours that they got, or you can look at credits through your local university or state university.
The most important part of our PD work group is what this entire topic is about. It was about using stakeholders, using the impetus of first the SSIP to say stakeholders are our most valuable resource. So how do we invite everyone, including family members, including service coordinators, including practitioners, to be a part of the development of professional development, and to make it more useful at the program level. So our first process was to invite anyone to be a part of this ongoing group that meets every month. And at first started with prioritizing the most important creations that needed to happen. And then 10 years later, we look back and go, wow, look what we've done. But the group comes together, they create work products, they gather survey information and put it out there for others to review. That work process has been vital, but even more important has been that the the stakeholders and the family members that have joined that PD work group, they've now done international presentations because they feel empowered that they are the leaders in this information. We have a family member who is going to present at DEC. Last year, we had a group present at DEC. We have this PD work group empowering others and presenting at state conferences and local conferences. It's really been a process that creates a lot of motivation and confidence in EI.
And really takes it back to that local level as well. So it's really been beyond what we first envisioned and really exciting. In addition to that, as you hear us talk a lot about data review, we're really very conscientious about continuous improvement in that data feedback that Dr. Vadova talked about. And we really want to learn from stakeholders what's working, what's not working. We pay very close attention to what's not working. We take it back to those monthly meetings with our professional development work group. We look at it, we rework things. Things came out like we have to have reflection guides. We need to have more things that are case studies and examples. And really, we work through each of that. So we really focus on that data in the field so that we make those changes and we really show the respect that when you fill out this information, we take it seriously. And we feel like that's really improved the work products that we have.
And just a side note, because I know Dr. Johnson would want this mentioned, it's that we create these products, but going back to her, what makes a difference and impact is that we also ask that programs, when a new product comes out, create a lead that's not necessarily the coordinator of the program, to take the group through the new, it could be the new creation over the next few months, and create local conversation and discussion of action and change and how to take that practice to heart. And that also empowers local leadership and local involvement.
And so within that process, we'll just briefly talk through one of our recent topics, which was authentic assessment. So we worked with the professional development work group. So people across the state, parents, practitioners, service coordinators come together. They're led by a technical assistance team. We work through that. If our topic was authentic assessment, we develop the materials. We look at pre-surveys, and then we have them review the information. We have a local leader in their group that helps take them through that. And we look at post surveys through that. And in looking at that process, it gives us a lot more insight. And we really feel strongly that data shares a story. And so we need to know who are those people that are looking at this. You see, here primarily it was early interventionists, and we have fewer service coordinators, but really looking at how can we get more families to preview this information and give us feedback. We really want to know that we're trying to meet the needs of all the different community partners. And looking at here, how long have people worked in early intervention? So we can tell there's a group here that are in the first year. So we need to think about the onboarding, but then we need what kind of reflective materials can be involved so that those at their midpoint can expand their opportunities of understanding this, as well as those that have been in the field for a while. And so we try to be mindful of each of those areas of experience and what kind of product do we have to meet their individual needs. This is looking at professional development materials help me have a better understanding. And we had the majority of the group said completely. But one of the things that we pay a lot of attention for is down here, we have a few people that said a little. And so when we come to our monthly groups, we really want to pay attention. Like we can say, oh, thank you, this is great. We had a large group that completely got the information, but we don't want to forget about this group that said somewhat or a little. And we go back and look at that. And that's how other variations of our professional development was designed. And we looked at some different materials that could meet the needs, because we want continuous improvement to meet everyone's needs. This question has been powerful. Does this information help me talk to families in early intervention about assessment or whatever your topic is? And this has really helped us to know if we can talk to families about that. To us, that says that we're more confident, we have that competence of understanding the topic. And if we do, then families are true partners in the process. And so we come back and look at what ways can we delve into this material in a different way so people feel more confident and they can talk to families. A recent variation of this is now we're asking people, how do you feel about talking to referral sources about this topic? Different community partners, because we want childcare to understand us. We want public health to understand us. We want the medical people that refer to us and other referral sources to really understand what early intervention is all about so that we all can truly embrace and support families and children with disabilities. And then we look at really tell us how this has changed your practice. And so are you able, like we talked, can you explain it to families? Does it increase your support to caregivers? Are you able to choose appropriate tools for this topic? Since we're talking about as assessment, we're looking specific at that specific area. But you want to look at all the different ways that it can impact your practice, and then have questions for them to let you know, have they been able to embrace these areas?
We also have thought about our platform. Due to the 325L grant, we were able to have a new way to present information, which is a big change. And of course, COVID stopped any in-person trainings, which was also a big change. So we always take consideration and thought about the platform and the asynchronous learning. And then while also getting information from our program leads that are on site and their conversations in person that are happening with their staff.
In addition to that, this came out of the comments saying that we need some type of guide. And so we developed to go along with the authentic assessment, we used a guide that was nationally available, and then we adapted it to North Dakota. And we looked at some other guided notes so that if they're looking at asynchronous material, they could take that out, they can stop it, they can go back. It can be something that they take to meetings or talk about with families. They can reread it. And we've had a lot of really strong feedback that this is incredibly helpful, that it helps them be more actively participating in the learning opportunity, that they're able to take their notes, go back, share it. And so this was one of those areas that by using our data, we adapted what our professional development materials look like. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Bada.
I didn't want to step on your toes. Part of the information that we take is also how will you use this and will it be important to others? So this always makes us sort of smile because the information is widely available throughout the state to all community partners. And in the end, I think we've created and are continuing to create something that is going to be a real help when new staff come on board. They're getting a consistent message about Part C and what we do in early intervention. But then this is also available to family members, to referral sources like Dr. Johnson mentioned, and higher ed, so that it can be so broadly shared and the message about North Dakota early intervention is out consistently. And you've heard us talk about local leadership. The core of all of this is that we will create PD together with local leaders. And then even though this is by far, there's on in-person trainings that are done, but there's an asynchronous, consistently available PD available on our platform, but creating those moments around practice change where there's a local leader leading discussions about the practices and considering how the program needs to move forward and reflecting on site and creating a mentorship within programs.
So, excuse me. So our key takeaways really for looking at professional development and really looking at performance support of having materials available for people when they need them is to consider your framework, really establish that. What does your framework look like? What kinds of specifics do you want it to meet? Is it Is it really those asynchronous learning opportunities? Is it peer monitoring? Is it reflection? How do those things look? But build in reflective opportunities. And when you're looking at learning opportunities, we need a variety. One way we could see from our data, you know, a lot of people like that asynchronous option, but some people want some local person that they can talk to. Some people want the materials available. So you need to be flexible in what those learning opportunities like. But overall, in all of those things, make sure your stakeholders are involved and that you're including a wide range in looking at what, because different people need different things. Our childcare workers need different than our early intervention practitioners versus families. And how do we meld all of those? But it was very important to us when we looked at a framework that families were true partners. They were in each part of that, and that those leadership opportunities include some type of local buy-in. And by having that person that could lead an area at the local area, we really found that that confidence improved, the buy-in improved. But everything you do, really what we've found that to be incredibly powerful is that continuous improvement process. Data seems boring to people, but it is not an area you want to overlook. We saw things that we were very proud of and excited, and it came back and it wasn't as helpful as we wanted. And we were able, because we had such an array of stakeholders looking at the material, people looked at it from different areas of perception and they could say, well, this sort of doesn't work for me because of this, or I really like this. And our product was much better because we had lots of different types um, of people looking at it from different perceptions. And that was great. And so we would challenge you to really look at your professional development, make sure you have an overall framework, include stakeholders. Stakeholders will give you a variety of perceptions. That's important, and it's going to drive a much different product that we feel is superior, that if we develop professional development in isolation and not using those stakeholders. And we just really want to thank you for this opportunity to present this information. And if you have any questions or would like to talk to us about how this worked or professional development, developing professional development, our contact information is here. Thank you.